Cancer Unmasked 360 is where we unmask the truth about cancer from every angle. This is a place created for men and women, patients, survivors, caregivers, and advocates who are navigating the cancer journey and looking for real answers, real conversations, and hope. Here we talk about it all: the diagnosis, the emotions, the treatments, the resources, the tests, the nutrition, the mental health, and the faith it takes to keep going. Cancer Unmasked 360 exists to tell the truth, break stigmas, empower patients, caregivers, loved ones with knowledge, community, engagement, so no one has to walk this journey uninformed or alone. The content shared on Cancer Unmasked 360 is for educational and inspirational purposes only. Although some of the guests may be healthcare professionals, this podcast does not provide personalized medical advice. Please consult your healthcare provider regarding your individual healthcare concerns and treatment diagnosis. Welcome to Cancer Unmasked 360, where we uncover the truth about cancer. Before I invite our guest in, please don't forget to hit that subscribe, follow, and like button. Today, we're joined by a phenomenal woman, Miss Thelma D. Jones, a breast cancer survivor and the founder of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. Let's see what she's got to say, because I can assure you she has a lot of information to give to all of you viewers. Hey, Miss Thelma.
Good evening. How are
I'm,
you?
I'm fine. How are you today?
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, because I know for a fact how busy you are, to join us. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's begin with your personal journey, because before the advocacy and the foundation, there was your own breast cancer experience. Take us back to the day where you were diagnosed with breast cancer, what you remember about that time.
What I remember about that was finding a lump beneath my right arm. And I was preparing to go to some training abroad to study Spanish in Santa Ana, Costa Rica, which is part of a retirement program from the World Bank, which is where I've been for more than 33 years. And I felt the lump and I just thought, I must deal with this when I get back. And I was away for about a month in Santa Ana, Costa Rica, studying Spanish. And I kept feeling the lump. And I thought, I must take care of it. I went on another international trip to Guyana, South America, 2 trips to North Carolina, and each time I'm feeling the lump. And then I'm at a speaking engagement in Philadelphia, family reunion speaking engagement, and the lump was just very pronounced. And I thought, you really need to slow down and get this checked out. At that point, it was September, when I first felt the lump, it was September 2006. We are now in the spring of 2007. And I said, when you get back to DC, you must seek medical attention, which I did. And it was at that time, the doctor said to me, well, first I saw my PCP. She referred me to an oncologist. And interestingly, when she gave me the card, I was running late for another appointment. So I didn't really pay any attention to it. It was over a week later, I'm cleaning out the purse and I looked at the card and I thought, why would she give me a referral for an oncologist? And that was when something clicked. I immediately made an appointment, and the oncologist informed me that he was going to do a needle aspiration.
Hmm.
And then he said, it's going to take a week or so for the results, and I'll give you a call. And I said, but I'm getting ready to go away to my high school reunion. Is this something I shouldn't do? And he said to me, no, you want to do that. And of course, when I returned for the appointment, that was when he told me that I had breast cancer. So that's when my whole world changed.
Well, did you find out then what stage you were? Did you have to get surgery of any kind?
I did. So during that discussion, he advised me that I had a rare form of breast cancer.
Mm.
And he said it was rare because 95% of the women in this country have a known primary. Um, he was unable to detect the primary or origin of my breast cancer. And so he said, you really should have surgery right away. I wanted to know how many surgeries had he performed.
Right.
Yes. And he said to me, uh, well, he said, as I said, you have an unknown primary rare. So very few people in this country have um, a condition like yours. And then I said, well, maybe I'm asking the wrong way. And I did what my parents taught me never to do, is point at people. And I said, so what I want to know is how many have you operated on, and women like me? And he said, a few. And I silently interpreted that as none. And I decided that if I were going to be a guinea pig, that I was going to be a living one. And I indicated that I'd like to get a second opinion, which is
Great.
very, very important. When we feel uncomfortable, we should seek some advice and get another opinion. And particularly if your insurance company will cover that. And even if it doesn't, there are organizations that can help you pay for a second opinion. Certainly, the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund would be willing to do that with our limited funds.
Yeah.
And so he referred me to another a surgical oncologist, and while he was ready to operate immediately, the surgical oncologist suggested that because I had large matted together tumors,
Mm.
that I should consider shrinking the tumors. So this is before having any type of surgery, or it's called neoadjuvant surgery, and
Okay.
then do chemotherapy and radiation. So because her opinion was totally different from the first
It.
one, I
Mm-hmm.
was even more confused. I really needed two people to say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I sought a third opinion from John Hopkins in Baltimore,
Good for
and
you.
the two said similarly the same thing. Although I have to admit, the doctor in Baltimore wasn't exactly a friendly type person. I just thought she was a bit, well, I needed a little bit more warmth than
Okay. Right.
what she was offering. And when I mentioned that I didn't understand some of the things that she was saying, even though I had two people there with me, her response was, well, I would have thought you would have read up by now. So
Whoa.
that didn't strike me very well. But at least her opinion was the same as the previous one. And at that point, I
Mhm.
felt that I could proceed. And so that's when I started the neoadjuvant treatment with shrinking the tumors.
Miss Thelma, I mean, it's no need to even ask you what type of patient you are if you ask questions or do your own research. I think that's kind of evident right now that which is what everyone should do. I mean, you were your own advocate. You didn't settle for anything anyone said, and comfortability is key. You don't always have to stay with a doctor. I hope people hear that. You don't always have to stay with a doctor that you don't feel comfortable with or doesn't treat you the way you feel like you should be treated. I always say it's a two-way street. I need to listen to you, but you need to listen to me because I know my body.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Wow.
And
So
so
how
I
long?
did. I did actually terminate the first doctor, and
Mhm.
that was not where I did had my treatment. And interestingly, when I was assisting another patient to find an oncologist, I saw the doctor's name on a list, and I just decided to read up more about the doctor and discovered, to my grave surprise and disappointment, it literally put me in tears. I discovered that breast cancer was not his area of specialty. And it wasn't just that I needed a breast surgeon, I needed someone who specialized in large matter together tumors. So
Mhm.
I'm a late stage 3B HER2 positive.
Wow.
And almost every time I think about that, it brings tears to my eyes, and thinking I may have been a dead duck. Um, so I'm
Had
glad.
you not followed your gut?
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, after your treatment, did you experience any difficulties, side effects of any kind?
Absolutely. And I am still having long term side effects. One of the ones is chemo brain or brain fog
Mm.
that I'm experiencing. Earlier in my diagnosis, so I started treatment in 2007, and I was advised that the brain fog or the chemo brain would eventually go away. And that's not the case for me. It may be the case for some, but
Mm-hmm.
mine has gotten progressively worse. And I've done um, a number of things in terms of visiting doctors about it. I also had a serious problem with lymphedema on my
Mm.
right arm. And most breast cancer patients do not know or understand that if they have breast surgery, they are at risk of developing lymphedema. And
Right.
depending on how many lymph nodes are affected, and in my case, I had 34 lymph nodes affected,
Oh,
15 of which didn't clear the margin. So I struggle. As a matter of fact, I'm in lymphedema therapy treatment now with um, one of the best lymphedema therapists that I know. Much, I'm shouting out to Marcello Basora. She's absolutely wonderful. And a quick story: when I was in North Carolina, I traveled to North Carolina some years ago during the holidays, and I was having a bit of problems with my lymphedema, and I went to the doctor actually 2 or 3 days before I departed because I was driving. And by the time I got to North Carolina, my lymphedema was affecting me so badly, I ended up hospitalized. So
Wow.
there I was during a Christmas holiday on a weekend and out of town.
Mm.
Worst possible time you could get ill. And when I told them that it was my lymphedema and that my insurance would cover it, when I went to one of the urgent cares, the lady questioned me, "Well, who told you that? And how do you know it's lympho or lympho whatever it is you're calling it?" Well,
Oh,
I immediately knew I was in trouble. That they didn't know what lymphedema was, and the fact that she was questioning me about my insurance benefits. I actually had to call a friend at the World Bank to explain how serious it was. She called ahead, and when I arrived at the major hospital in Greenville, they checked me in so quickly they almost forgot to ask for my ID. At any rate, the surgeons wanted to operate on me. First, they felt that they wanted to drain, not
mm-hmm.
do surgery. They wanted to drain the fluid. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Oh, does that involve sticking a needle in my arm?" And it did. But I was told many times to avoid a needle, blood pressure cuffs, and all of that for a long time. I understand now that some are saying you don't have to. Others are saying if you can avoid it, do so. But I'm still with the old school thought. I try
Yeah.
to avoid it. At any rate, when I said to them that I couldn't allow them to do that because I've been taught and told not to. So there was some tense moments, and my oldest sister was with me, and she begged me to go through with it because the doctors had said to me, "I'm not for sure if you're aware of it, but from the complexion and the look on your face, you're about to pass out." And I was in so much pain. And I said to my sister, a very devoutly religious lady, I said to her, "If I pass out, you have to promise me that you won't allow them to stick a needle or do anything to my arm." And she
Mm-hmm.
said to me, "You want to listen to the doctors. They know what they are talking about." And at that point, I knew she would allow them to do what they needed to do. And I had to talk to myself and say, "Thelma, yeah, you know you're getting ready to pass out, but you need to not only get yourself together, but you need to get out of this hospital because this is not the place that you need to be treated." And those young men honestly looked as though they just came out of medical school the
Right.
day before they started treating me. So I didn't have any confidence. And I checked myself out when I returned to DC. Uh, my doctor actually said to me that it was good that I didn't allow them to do that. But the interesting thing is the doctors in Greenville, North Carolina, advised me that they had called and talked to my doctor, and my doctor gave them the instructions to do that. My doctor said,
Oh
A,
no.
I was not on duty, and B, I would have never given those kind of instructions.
Wow.
And I just keep thinking about, okay, I had the wherewithal to question and challenge it, but many of the patients that I work with do not have that kind of ability to question and say, "Thank you, but no thank you. I need to leave and seek care elsewhere."
Yeah, because I suffer with lymphedema too, and that is extremely painful when the fluid is not flowing properly. Extremely. So for you to leave and get all the way back home from being out of town, that was a lot. But your instinct told you what to do, and it was the best decision for you. It's I just can't believe it. Well, I do believe it because you hear many stories like this, but it's just a sad indictment of what we're faced with. Miss Thelma, you turned one of life's hardest moments into a mission that has impacted countless others. At what point did your plan become your purpose, and how did it lead to the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund?
When I had my surgery, or prior to going into my surgery, I there was quite a bit that I didn't know, and I consider myself well read, intelligent, and know how and when to speak up for the most part.
Right, right.
And so I literally said a prayer uh, early that morning. It was like 6 or 7 o'clock when I was going into surgery, or being prepped for surgery. And my prayer was that uh, I asked the master that if he took me through this, that I promise I would dedicate my life to this
Mm,
disease and helping others.
mm,
And I go to bed and wake up every night and knowing it is a commitment and a promise that I made, that I
mm.
have never, I mean, never, never have I missed a single day in honoring that commitment that I made to the master. And I feel like when I see friends all around me dying of this disease, I
Yeah,
have to question, why am I still here? And I feel like
purpose.
I'm here for a reason,
Yes,
and that's to
absolutely.
be a living example, to help others. Because, as you know, in the Black community, the incidence and mortality rates of breast cancer are very high. And in the District of Columbia, in the nation's capital, we have the highest mortality rate in the country. And that
Mm,
shouldn't be in the nation's capital.
mm, mm.
If we're not at the top, we should at least be near the top and leading an example, and not at the bottom of the totem pole.
Yes,
And that is something that I keep working, to get that message out and to get better services for the women in the District of Columbia. Now, in insurance, oftentimes is not the case, because there is one other state. I want to say it's, let me not, well, I was thinking it was Massachusetts, but the District of Columbia has a high rate of insured people. But there is also a challenge of access to care, and knowing when to seek care, or what kind of care to seek. We still are having challenges with getting women to do their mammograms. I've worked with several women during my breast cancer journey. When I say seven, what it means several, maybe 10 or 15 women who've never had breast cancer
mammogram.
screening. They've
Yes.
never had a mammogram.
Hmm.
And And some will fudge when you ask them when was your last
Yes.
mammogram. They'll say, "Well, Miss Thelma, it's been a minute." And I know when I continue the conversation and gain that trust, I already know that when they say it's been a minute, it means they've
Right.
never had one.
Mhm.
Okay. And
Mhm.
gaining the trust, which is so important because once we get trust, oftentimes we can encourage people to seek medical attention and to do follow up. Um, so there's still challenges with screening. There's still challenges with people following up with treatment after they've been diagnosed. And that could be from fear,
Yes.
that could be just the lack of understanding of what will happen if they don't seek care. And that's what happened to me, a late stage 3B. I first discovered my lump in September of 2006, but I did not seek medical attention until March of 2007. And when you are HER2 positive, that's an aggressive
Form.
form of breast
Yes.
cancer. And it is so important that we continue to convey the message that early detection saves lives and creates better outcomes mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, and definitely financially. So we have to keep putting that message out and make sure people know it's just not a nice line to say,
Right.
that it is something that I believe in and work toward helping others to believe in it. And while helping them to understand that if you get treatment or when you go for treatment, I understand if it's a frightening situation and you have all these other challenges. With women, we have jobs, we have families, we have church, we have PTA, we have elderly
Right.
care, you name it.
Yes.
But it is, there will be somebody with you because we feel that no person should have to travel their journey alone. And when you build that trust, they will call you whenever whenever any little thing goes wrong.
Yeah.
Uh, and even fortunately, they'll call you when good things are happening. Miss Jones, they told me I don't have to come back anymore. No more surgeries. I don't have to do this or that. So that's good that they share the good, the not so good, and the indifferent with you.
Yeah. Miss Thelma, do you or can you tell us what you think some of the unmet needs are in our community as it relates to cancer?
I think there are a number of unmet needs. One being education and awareness. Um, we have to, or it is so important that we continue to have spaces like this where we can share knowledge because knowledge is power,
Yes.
and to share examples of people knowing I was diagnosed in 2007 with a late stage 3B rare and aggressive form, but I am still here.
Yes.
And I'm still here to try and help educate and save other lives.
Yes.
Um, there is the need of support, helping women to understand that there are plenty of resources like support groups, like patient navigators and community health workers. I am very fortunate that I have been trained as a patient and or community navigator through Smith Center for Healing and the Arts and George Washington Cancer Center, some of the best training more than a decade ago. And I am also very proud that I just completed my practicum to become a certified community health worker. So
Mm,
I get to help women and men because men do get breast cancer. And the
that's
Thelma
right.
D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund has an active program around breast cancer in men, at least 3 times a year during our breast cancer, monthly breast cancer support group meetings. Men are actively engaged in, and doctors who have treated men as well.
I'm
Um,
glad you brought that up because I definitely want to get into, and we probably can't even begin to touch all of the things and programs and newsletters and events and all that you're connected with and that you help people to connect to. So I want to talk about some of the services your foundation provides. And anybody who is interested, let me pause here and said you can go to Miss Thelma's website. It's scrolling on the bottom of your screen, and you will be overwhelmed with information. So let's talk a little bit about some of what we you do because we'd be here all night talking about all of what you do. In my personal opinion.
Thank you. So we do, as you said, have a number of programs, and I'm proud to say they're very uh, impactful. We have a monthly support group meeting every third Wednesday night at 6 or either 6:30 p.m., depending on the topic. And we have done this since 2010. We've only missed one support group meeting. And the support group meetings are in person, they're via Zoom, as well as Facebook Live.
Mhm.
So, in addition to our monthly support group meeting, which is our signature program, we have a weekly meals program where we feed 60 to 70 people every Monday, unless it's a holiday, with a variety of fresh, nutritional, and free food. And that program is not just a food program because we also give them lunches, but it is a program to be a welfare check toward many seniors because that's the
Mhm.
bulk of the people we serve in that program,
Mhm.
seniors and breast cancer survivors. And we also serve families, and more we're seeing younger and younger
Mhm.
people participating in the program. It is also a program for the seniors to allow them to interact with other people. It reduces their loneliness because, as you know, some years ago, our Surgeon General declared loneliness as a public health crisis. So
Yes.
we're very pleased that we do that. Sometimes we pick up their prescriptions, and sometimes we're just that lonely voice that they want to hear. It's very difficult to say goodbye to some of them because they enjoy having your presence. So,
Yeah.
in addition to that, we have, as I mentioned, a very active patient navigation and community health worker program. And essentially, what we do is we host education classes as part of the navigation and community health worker aspect. We identify people who need screening, whether it's the first time or repeat screening. We help them to identify a primary care physician. We also provide transportation when they are unable to get to and from their doctor's appointment. We would be, or the public would be surprised to know how many people actually are not in compliance because they don't have transportation. And I
Mhm.
know sometimes for me, getting to doctors at either downtown at GW or at one of the MedStar facilities can be challenging to me. And I have a car and I have friends, but their schedules are not always
Right.
my schedule. And when you don't have a good support network, and I know this one lady who lives in far southeast and she has to get to the doctor in Georgetown. And I said to her, please talk to your social worker, or would you like for me to call? And she wasn't even one of my patients, but she was someone that I met at an event.
Mhm.
And that was a problem that she has. We sometimes paid for transportation. So that is one of the services. We have a limited financial aspect of our program where one lady had a gap between her insurance and she needed some tests. Our organization paid them more than $500 for that test so that she could continue. And of course, as it turned out with her diagnosis, she did have cancer. It was not breast cancer, but they did discover cancer. Um,
Mhm.
we do a lot of outreach. So, community engagement is my area of expertise, thanks to my parents who were actively involved in the community in our hometown of Snow Hill, North Carolina. So, I grew up on a farm. My father was a sharecropper farmer, and my mother was a midwife, and they
Mm.
were extremely active in the community. And it is a legacy that they passed on to us. And we were hard workers. That's a legacy that I'm not exactly sure that I'm happy that they passed on to us. I'd like to spend more time having fun, fun, fun. Uh, but
Understood.
yeah, they taught us a lot of discipline, but more importantly, I am so proud of how they left that legacy
Yes.
of, of leaving the world a better place and helping to feed the hungry, helping the sick, and helping the wayward. It is, I mean, my parents' house was like a revolving door in terms of what
Wow.
they did to our relatives and the neighbors in our community. So that is something that will go with me to my grave.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is we have partnerships with a number of wonderful organizations. I mentioned Smith Center and George Washington, also Georgetown, Lombardi, Ralph Lauren's Cancer Center, Howard University, and I could go on and on, and
You can.
I'll
You
stop
can. That's
there.
why I said just touch the surface because
Yeah.
I am fully aware of the impact that you have globally. So let's let people know that it your outreach is global. Am I not correct?
That is correct. So, having
That's right.
retired from the World Bank after more than 33 years, I still maintain a wonderful network with my World Bank colleagues, and the World Bank is quite supportive in many of the things that we do. The Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund support group is modeled after the World Bank's support group. But when we do our Zoom meetings, thanks to Zoom and technology, we have reached regularly 7 different countries. And two of the
Amazing.
countries, Spain and Guatemala, we have a board member, Alejandra Mendoza, because of where her parents and families are, and because she visits them, she often speaks from those 2 countries, and family members of hers have been guest speakers as well. We've also Mexico, um, Jamaica, Bermuda. Oh, one of my board members was speaking from Australia. She was determined that she was not going to disappoint me. So she spoke while she was on travel in Australia, Barbados, and I'm not quite remembering all of them, but
Miss Thelma, you probably can't because let me tell you, we could talk for another hour before, to me, you could summarize not only the impact that you have globally, but all the things that you offer or you educate us on. Trust me, anybody who is listening to this tonight, visit her website. You'll be amazed. Miss Thelma, I just lost you on camera.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm not for sure what happened.
Okay, but you have disappeared from the picture.
Oh,
There
oh
you go.
man,
You're back.
I'm sorry.
It's all, don't worry about it. It's live. Things happen. Trust me.
Technology.
But I wanted to ask you, do you by any chance remember the moment when you realized that your organization was truly making an impact on someone's life?
um, I think more and more I am looking at and appreciating the impact. And two of the special services that I didn't mention was we have a newsletter that we send out campaigns, information from a wide variety of organizations, and it could include information on breast cancer and a number of other cancers. It can include things on genetic testing, why it's important, dense breasts. Um, Also, it's not just information about various forms of cancer, it's healthy living, nutrition, it's every facet of the cancer continuum from prevention, diagnosis, treatment, survivorship, and end of life. And then we have a monthly newsletter where we feature breast cancer survivors and many of our partnerships, and we look forward to featuring you in one of our newsletters.
Thank
So
you.
I know we're making a difference when someone sends me a campaign or information about their organization, and 2 days later they call and said, "Well, we noticed you haven't uh, published our campaign yet." And I often think about these are organizations who have budgets 10 times larger than ours. And I
Hmm.
might mention the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund is an all volunteer organization, including I am a non paid person. That's the part where I'm not for sure that I like that my parents that we volunteer too much. We'll spend enough time seeking pay for it. But uh, When you think about, okay, here's organization B, A or B, they have communication staff, social media people, and all of that. And they are bugging me about why I haven't included their campaign. And it's worse is when they get somebody who knows me to call or email and say, can you please include their campaign? But more specifically, when I know our impact is making a difference, is the repeat requests that I get when a friend, neighbor, an advocate, survivor, thriver, or caregiver refers someone to me. It
Yes.
tells me that they not only trust me, that they
Mhm.
trust me enough to service or provide support for whether it's their neighbor, relative, or whomever. And I get calls from out of town because I've attended college in Durham and the high school in North Carolina, and my college classmates and my World Bank friends are all
Right.
over. They will refer people to me. So
Mhm.
I'm very happy to know that that's when I know that we are making an impact. And very early, um, my medical oncologist had some patients who literally refused to do chemotherapy because they did not want their hair. They did not want to face losing their hair. You know, we feel that our hair is our crown and glory. And my doctor asked me to talk to the women. And so I looked at him, and this is very early in the game of my breast cancer uh, journey, I should say. And he asked me to talk to him. And I said, well, what can I tell them that you can't tell them? Because, you know, you're the doctor. They're going to believe. He says, uh, I don't know, Thelma. I just think you're talking to them will make a difference, because I was one of those people that every time I came to his office I would present something. Oh, I read this or that, and I used to think he wasn't paying any attention to me, and when I thought maybe I was insulting him, I came one day and didn't bring anything to read, and he asked me, he says, oh, you don't have anything to show me? And then it clicked that he really was appreciating it. And when he asked me to talk to his patients, I knew then that he had developed a certain level of respect and
Yes.
trust me. And it was from that request that inspired me to become a trained patient navigator, because I wanted to make sure that I was properly trained to help other people. Um,
Yes. Miss Thelma, certainly you have been recognized nationally for your advocacy. What does advocacy truly mean to you?
Advocacy means to me that I am amplifying my voice and inspiring other people to do the same thing to improve conditions. And in this case, we're talking breast health. So, using my voice to continue to amplify the statement that early detection saves lives and creates better outcome, and advocating on the importance of being treated. And if there's fear, no one will have to travel their journey alone. And fortunately for me, I was advocating for causes long before it was considered advocacy. So
Okay.
at the World Bank, I founded this organization called the World Bank Group IMF, African American Association. And as the president, I was forever using my voice and my personal uh, position, which I felt should have been different, uh, to increase the pay, the promotions, the training opportunities, and benefits for African Americans and for other people in the diaspora, where I work closely with other affinity groups. So I've been advocating all of my life.
I
I
was
joined the
going to
World Bank
say
as a very
that.
young person. And so I
Yeah.
took that into the health area to advocate to help to save more lives for women, men, and young girls. Because, as you know, breast cancer, even though we've made a lot of advances in breast cancer, as well as colon cancer, are occurring more frequently
Yes.
in younger and younger women. So
Yes.
the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund has a commitment to start more uh, outreach in terms of education classes in our schools, because we don't want for our young girls and boys to first learn about breast cancer when they're 40 years old, not
Yeah.
when we're having women
In their
dying
20s.
in their
Yes.
20s,
I just
in their
lost, I
20s.
just real quick, Miss Thelma, there was a woman that I met was going to be a part of this podcast. She was in her early 20s. She was battling breast cancer. She had a son, I think, that was like 6 years old. And before I could even get her on the show, she lost her life.
Okay.
So we're talking much younger than back in the day when, you know, they were saying you didn't need a mammogram till you probably was in your late 20s or 30s. We weren't getting mammograms early, and that's a big deal. Miss Dalma, as we bring our conversation to a close, if you could leave our audience with one message of hope, action, or encouragement, what would that be?
That message would be that it is important that we take care of our bodies. And one of the ways that we can do it is to be screened, and not necessarily when we are 40 years old with many women, because if there is a history of breast cancer in our families, we should make sure that we're talking to our doctors to make sure that we are screened earlier, and to encourage people to seek help and guidance if they are not for sure. There is always someone who is willing to help, um, but they do have to ask for help, because there's a lot of great advances in breast cancer. But in order for us to make sure that they or we benefit from them, um, we do have to seek medical care. And that means we need to have a primary care doctor, that we get our regular screening tests so that we can be on top of what our bodies are telling us. And if I could just say, one of the other ways that um, the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund is helping to impact not just this generation, but later generations, is through the work that I am doing as an American Cancer Society Voices of Black Women ambassador. And in this program, it is something that ACS, or the American Cancer Society, and the ambassadors are doing. We are looking at why are women, Black women, like myself and like you, are dying and developing certain diseases. So we are trying to we are working to invite and recruit women between the ages of 20 and 60 to be a part of the ambassadors study. And I would, because I know in the interest of time, but I would really appreciate if um, anyone who's interested in being a part of the Voices uh, of Black Women to please call me at 202-251-1639 or log on to my website at www.tdjbreastcancerfund.org. And we're also on social media, and we have our own YouTube channel.
Yeah. Well, they can certainly see that at the bottom of their screen, Miss Thelma. But also, what I want to say in closing is that this organization needs funding. Nothing happens without money. Money makes things happen. So if you can go on her website and even donate, I'm sure it would be greatly appreciated. Ms. Thelma, it has been my great pleasure to sit down with you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me your time because I know how busy you are. And I really appreciate the work that you're doing. And I'm here to support it any way that I can.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Another great episode. Thank you for joining. And don't forget to subscribe, follow, and like. I'm your host, Desi Waters. Until next time.